as of recently, there is a topic of conversation that has sparked a lot of talk within the spiritual / manifestation community, and that would be the idea of self-concept. The idea itself is that by embodying a higher version of yourself, you will manifest all that you desire and more. Is this actually true? Is this based on any kind of evidence? Is this just a bunch of BS? Before we answer all of these very valid questions, we're going to take a step back and analyze the root of self-concept. I would say that the most famous person associated with the self-concept is the psychologist Carl Rogers, who believed that he believed in the theory of personality. And the very core, or like the central aspect of this theory, is self-concept. To Rogers, self-concept was separated in 3 different aspects. So we had self-image, self-esteem, and the ideal self. I would say, just before we dive into like the different key points of each aspect, that self-concept is not ego. Self-concept is the image that we have of ourselves to ourselves. It is who we are, our identity. It affects our outside world and inside world as well. It manifests itself that, at work, in your relationships, in your relation to yourself, in your dreams, your motivations, your hobbies, your interests, and your attitude towards life. So, okay, now that this is said, let's go back to Carl Rogers, and we're gonna start with the ideal self. So, the ideal self is who we desire to be. It's like our dream self. I would say in spiritual terms, this is also the version of you who has all of the manifestations that you desire. Another thing that I wanted to add about the ideal self is that it is not often who we currently are. It is kind of like a version of us that exists in our mind, okay? So then we have the self-image, which is who we are currently, physically, emotionally, psychologically. It is the entirety of our present persona. And then we have self-esteem, which is how much we value ourselves and how much we accept ourselves. Self-esteem is not self-concept. This is 2 different things, okay? So Carl Rogers defined 2 types of self-concept. Being, okay, this is a hard word, I have to check how to pronounce it. Okay, congruent and incongruent. So to him, there was a congruent self-concept, which is when your self-concept is aligned with your current reality. And the incongruent self-concept is when it is not aligned with your current reality. And this could be often because of traumas or early childhood experiences which forge the way that we perceive ourselves and the world around us and creates maybe a disconnect to him, according to him. So what this means essentially is that self-concept partially develops through interactions that we have with the world and also with our own observations and feelings. In resume, I would say that self-concept is ever-evolving and changing. So it is always semi-present in our minds and in our lives. This is what we are learning so far. Who is Carl Rogers, by the way, if you were wondering if this is like a reputable source to get my information from? He is kind of like the founder of this theory, but also he was a very famous and influential psychologist. He once was the president of the American Association of Psychology. He is specifically a humanitarian psychologist and a pioneer in his kind, and he's mostly known for his person-centered therapy methods. So another interesting concept that he brought that I thought was not talked about enough within this whole conversation about self-concept and everything, which is ironic because it is crucial in the whole self-concept part and in Carl Rogers' work as well. It is not often talked about, like I said. Carl Rogers believed that we had one goal, and I'll try to explain it. He said that the organism strives to actualize, maintain, and enhance the experience that it is living. He believed that we behaved based on how we perceived the world around us, and or how we perceived our current situation. That defined how we approached different scenarios. So in this sense, I would say that the bridge between the ideal self and the current self is self-actualization. But let me develop what I'm trying to say, because I know that this is a lot of big words and you're like, huh? I would say AKA a congruent self-concept. So when that bridge is being made, when that happens, this is what Roger believes to be a much deeper concept, being the fully functioning person. So self-actualization to him leads to fully functioning person. And in spiritual terms, I would say that this leads to the highest version of you. This is why I wanted to talk about it. He describes the highly functioning person, or fully functioning person, sorry, to be creative, to be open, to fully assume itself and its life, to be confident and worthy of confidence, to be very interesting, to be being fully present. He calls it an existential approach to life, being open to their own instincts, and overall a very balanced person. Now, don't come and tell me that this is not the whole pitch that we're trying to sell with self-concept and manifestation. You know what I'm saying? There's a link here. So what does all of this teach us, like I said, about like manifestation and the kind of talk that we're having within the spiritual community? Perhaps it is teaching us that we have perceived limitations which may block our manifestations or block our beliefs, which, you know, if you know anything about manifestation, a lot of it comes from within. For example, you could have a blockage, that a narrative that says that you could never manifest what you desire, you can never become the person of your dream because X, Y, and Z, right? And what we are also learning with this whole theory is that we can change the person that we are. We can change the person that we think we are in different ways, of course, but self-concept is a big one of them. And we can break out of this loop. So like what I mean by a loop is, for example, if you believe that you're too shy to start a YouTube channel, you're too shy to have charisma, you're too shy to dive into hobbies that may interest you, to approach interesting people, to express your thoughts and feelings in a group discussion. This is a loop that comes from your self-concept, from what you believe. The theory also proposes that a degree of our existence is based on our perception, and the perception that we specifically have about ourselves, because we live within the own constructions of our mind. And some may have the critique, some people may say that this is a very Western idea, a very Western way of thinking that is very self-centered, and to which I say yes. Like, yes, this is valid and it is true, but bringing it back a notch, I would say that, interestingly enough, there is no I or we without perception. So, like Descartes said, perception is existence to a certain point. When he said, I think, therefore I am, this is kind of what it meant. So, is self-concept truly the key to all of your desires and manifestations and all of that? I don't think so. And I think, however, that it can be the power that you need to acquire all of your desires and manifestations. People that claim that self-concept is like the big revelation that will give you everything and more, I don't think they necessarily are wrong or lying or, you know, making stuff up. I think that they are on the right path, but perhaps they're hyping it up a little more than they need to. And this is why my next point is how you can actually manifest, you know, everything with self-concept. So I want you to start by understanding your current self-concept, and or known as identifying your blockages. What kind of narratives do you have about yourself, and what kind of life are you currently living right now? This requires a lot of transparency, which is fine, because in the second point, you'll need even more transparency. The second step is transforming your harmful beliefs or your blockages, your limitations, or releasing them, all of that stuff. So Carl Rogers interestingly noticed that what was really important with this whole process of self-actualization, self-concept, self-blah, blah, all of that, was unconditional love. That people self-actualize, or in this case, transform their beliefs through love and through feeling safe and feeling accepted. Because you cannot hate yourself into becoming a better person. You cannot punish yourself into being better, you know? And this also helps you to break the self-fulfilled prophecies by interrupting the made-up assumptions. So if you take like the example that I gave earlier, right? If you stop assuming that you're always too shy, too boring, too this, too that, to do the things that you desire to do, to live the desired reality, it breaks this kind of like loop, like I said earlier, this prophecy in which, of course, if you take that action, it's going to give that result. And so that's why the last step is just allowing things to fall into alignment, or self-actualization, and becoming a fully functioning person, to Carl Rogers. This can also be explained, interestingly enough, with the law of assumption or law of vibration. So assuming that you are different will give you different outcomes, or being on a different energy level or vibrational level will give you different types of energies in your life. Of course, this whole process, I'm not gonna lie to you, it requires a lot of self-exploration, it requires introspection, it requires time, and it requires getting to know yourself on a deeper level. This is why I think that you will need to have an approach that is a little bit influenced by Carl Rogers, which is being patient, being compassionate, and listening to yourself, working with yourself. Things will not probably change overnight, and perhaps they will not give you insanely miraculous, crazy results, but they will definitely give you results which will lead to miracles. Interestingly enough, you know, I feel like we often forget the goal of manifesting, or the ideology of manifestation, and we always ask for more, we always desire more, when truly we forget how much of a miracle it already is, how much of a blessing it already is to be alive in this very moment. To close off our discussion, I wanted to say that Carl Rogers himself has a very good quote that I'm going to read to you. And I'm going to pull it up right here. And just to kind of remind ourselves that self-concept, like I said, is ever evolving and ever changing. That manifestation is a constant process of being alive. You always manifest things because you perceive constantly. Our last quote of the day is, "The good life is a process, not a state of being. It is a direction, not a destination." On that end, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you will go off and work on yourself or not. I hope this was at least insightful and that it made you realize kind of like what we were talking about when we talked about self-concept. Now, I cannot speak for every creator that made a video about self-concept, but this is kind of a resume of the key points, what it does, how it works, and the more concrete, evidence-based theology behind self-concept. Yeah, that's it. So goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.